I'm Samantha Brown, and this is my American dream.
Be yourself, be yourself always.
Well, I was always a wanderer as a child. I grew up in New Hampshire, and so I would just set out, go into the woods, and I would disappear for hours. I just remember creating my own worlds out there and just being by myself, and I loved it. And it's still something that I do today when I travel. I love to just wander and daydream and be in the moment. Travel is one of the few things we have in our lives that mark a fresh start, a new beginning, and I feel like we're all on this journey to understand ourselves, to be better than we thought, and nothing gives us that opportunity like travel.
Be yourself, be yourself.
My earliest career goals was to pay my rent. I lived in New York City, still do. It's an expensive city, waited on tables. But I wondered what I was doing. I wondered why I was in this big city, simply getting people their sodas and making sure there was a lemon or a lime on them. I knew that I had a lot more in me. There was a lot of wondering, when should I quit? And I never did, and it paid off. I never tried to be someone different than myself. And there were times that I have been asked to be someone different than who I am. I've always just said, nope, this is me, and you'll come around, and people do. My first break, I was waiting on tables, and I submitted myself for commercials, and I got the commercial. And again, I didn't have an agent, I didn't have anything. And Travel Channel saw these commercials and said, we think she'd be good as a host. They said, well, we want you to do this travel show. I'm like, but I've never traveled before. And I just never thought that it would be my life. So I had to audition to get the hosting job, and I had to fly down to Jacksonville, Florida from New York. The first time, I had a connecting flight through Washington, Dulles, and I did not make that connecting flight. Left late from LaGuardia, didn't make it. So they had me again on the exact same flight a week later. This time I had to make it, or they said you would not be considered for the job. So stakes were high, and again we left very late from LaGuardia, and this time I am now running to make that flight, and I'm running so hard that like my heart is just in my throat. I get to the gate and I'm like, is that the flight to Jacksonville? And she said, yes, but I already called final boarding. And I said, no, I'm supposed to be on that flight. And she said, well, go down, see if they'll take you. And so I just start running towards the plane, and this man literally almost tackles me. He's like, where do you think you're going? And I said, is that the flight to Jacksonville? And he said, yes. I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on that flight. And he said, I just cleared it for takeoff. No one gets on the flight. And I just start bawling. I'm like, you don't understand. I really think I can get this job. I know this job is gonna change my life. I'm gonna travel for a living. I really think I can get this job. And so he said, well, the only person who can overrule my decision is the pilot. I'll ask him. So I was like, he's like, wait here. And I see him walk up the stairway, he goes into the cockpit, and I realized, no, you've got to seize this moment. And I took my bags and I ran. And I ran and I put myself under the nose of the plane, and I just went, please! And I just stood there with my arms wide open, and the pilot looked down on me and said this, and that's when I knew I got the job. I knew my brand was accessibility. I really wanted people to look at me and think, if she can do it, I can do it. That I wasn't a travel expert. I was simply seeing the world, and I was bringing you along with me. I live in airports. I live in hotels. Luggage was just a natural extension, but not everybody travels as I do. So when you open yourself up with a product and you really reach out to people to try that product, you want to know how you can make it better. And so if you feel like you've got a great idea, if you've got a great message to send, stick with it, keep going, and eventually people will come to you. And when you get there, there's just nothing like it.